Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Also, thank you to the 1 Million Cups staff for giving us this opportunity. I would also like to thank the Frisco Chamber and the Young Entrepreneurs Academy for all of their help and support. So some of you may already know me. My name is Gosha Sivaraja, and I previously came here to present our first product, the Mavi, which we're proud to say that we'll be releasing sometime mid of this year. So today, both of my brothers, Keith and Krish Sivaraja, will be presenting our next product, the First Response Detector, or the FRD, and it's currently in development and patent pending.
Thank you. So the First Response Detector, or FRD for short, has three main features that we're going to present to you today. The first is the first response detection. Second is fatigue driving, and last is collision alert system. Krish is going to tell you about the first response detection.
While driving, we face many distractions, from loud music to talking to even bad weather. All these factors and much more impede the efforts of emergency responders as they prevent us, the civilian, from hearing the sirens until they're really close behind us. And as a result, the national average for response time is about 18 minutes. And here in Frisco, it is about 6 minutes. Although the Frisco average is well below the nation, we believe by using the first response detector, we can bring it even lower. And this is crucial, as according to the National Heart Association, victims of cardiac arrest need aid within the first 4 to 6 minutes. If not, they have a chance of dying. Well, by using the first response detector, we hope to help these first responders get to their emergency faster, safer, and more efficiently by clearing the streets of civilians so they have a straight path to get to their destination. So the FRD is split into two devices, the transmitter and the receiver. The transmitter will be in the emergency response vehicle, while the receiver will be in the civilian vehicle. So how it works is that the transmitter will send a signal in a 3/4 mile distance, and once the receiver receives the signal, it will alert the civilians to move over or make way using audio and visual cues.
Now, the first response detector is not only a device that helps our first responders get to their destinations quicker, but it helps us civilians get to our destinations safer. Today, there are more than 100,000 accidents that occur each year due to fatigue driving, or drowsy driving. And so it results in more than 71,000 injuries, and about 4% of those are fatalities. And so we want to prevent this. 1 in 25 adults have admitted to driving drowsy over the past month. And so we have experienced a high number of injuries and even deaths. And this is what we want to prevent. And so those who are prone to such driving are those who leave early in the morning, drive late at night, or those who drive commercial vehicles such as trucks, tractors, or buses that take kids to and from school, or those who may be on medication that may cause side effects of drowsiness. And these are the people that we are hoping to help get to their destination safer by helping with drowsy driving. How we're going to do this is by implementing a system where a camera is on the dash of the civilian vehicle. And this camera is always pointed at the civilian's eyes, and whenever we are moving and we see that the eyes are closed for more than a second, the system will detect this and alert them using audio and visual cues that will say, "Wake up and pull over and rest before proceeding," so that we are alert while we're behind the wheel. Additionally, there is a collision alert system that will prevent us from colliding with another vehicle or help us brace ourselves before we are collided with. This is because today we have a lot of distractions. Our cell phone is one of the main ones. Additionally, we may be paying attention to other collisions as we drive by, or paying attention to the GPS or map instead of paying attention to the road ahead of us. And this may cause us to collide with individuals. And so this has caused a lot of accidents over the years. About 26% of collisions are due to cell phone use. 6% are directly because of texting and driving. And those are just the people that admitted to doing it. This has caused about 1.7 million collisions around the world each year, causing more than 700,000 injuries, or let me get the numbers. Yes, 17,000 deaths and 500,000 injuries. Regardless, these are huge numbers that we can avoid if we are aware of what's around us as we're supposed to be. And so we have created a system that uses sensors to help us detect if there's a vehicle in front of us and helps us know if there's a vehicle approaching us. It uses the speed that we're traveling to determine a safe distance to follow the other vehicle. And when it realizes that we're in the red zone, it alerts us so that we can either pump our brakes to avoid colliding with someone else, or we can brace ourselves before someone else collides with us. Now, the FRD is a device that we truly believe can make a difference in our community and around the world. And so we have partnered with individuals at TEXPDC at Texas A&M University, Gig'em, and SysTech Innovation Technologies. Additionally, we have a team of engineers and business professionals who are dedicated to bringing this product to market. The first response detector: faster response time, fewer accidents, more lives saved. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you very much for enlightening everybody on what goes on. So I'll ask the first question. I'm just out of curiosity. Is this an aftermarket program, or is this kind of something you're trying to deal with the car manufacturers, or how's that work?
Great question. This is something that we've talked about a lot. And so there's two revenues that we can take this down. And the first one that we're targeting right now is as an aftermarket product, because right now there are a lot of cars on the road that are older. And whenever a new driver comes along, not every parent's going to buy them a brand new car that we can integrate it into. And so these are the students, it's the students and new drivers that we want to help and keep safe. And so we're going to be able to create an aftermarket product that you can install into your vehicle. And then once we have that market, then we're going to move into talking with Ford or Benz or BMW and all the other car manufacturers to see how we can integrate it into their systems, and so we can reach a newer market with that.
Excellent.
Are there any plans to address drunk driving? Drunk alcoholic detection, breathalyzer, anything like that?
Good question, and that's something my mom and I were talking about, and that's something that we did want to implement, but we didn't mention it in this presentation. But we were thinking of including a breathalyzer with the system, so whenever you get in, then you blow it, and if you don't blow clear, then it doesn't let you start your vehicle up. But that's definitely something we talked about.
Is this a single platform solution, meaning is it all one inclusive unit, or is it separate modules? Because, a newer Mercedes may have the alert detection unit on it, but it won't have the FRD. So are these different modules that someone can buy to complement what their vehicle currently has, or is it just kind of a one-size solution and you have to utilize it?
So the way we're going about it is this is mostly targeting toward older vehicles. So older vehicle typically does not have like the collision alert or whatnot. So normally we will have all three in one, but we want to come up with options where it's like if you just have the first response detector and the drowsy driving, or just the first response detector. So you'll have various options as well.
So first of all, great presentation. I'm trying to figure out how I can get my son from OU to come and hang out with you guys. Very good. So my car has this, right? But who are you going to market to? Like, who's your target audience, and what's the plan for your market strategy?
So basically what we're thinking, mostly, like my brother said, it's for, it's different kinds of target markets. The drowsiness detector is for people who drive long distance or fall asleep easily. The first response detector, it's typically to help the first responders. And we've added the collision alert system just for everyone's own protection, just to give them a chance to be aware if they're going to get rear-ended or if they're going to make a collision, to give them a chance to get back on the road. So it's typically for people with older vehicles, that may not have these facilities already installed within them. And then the first response detector, we want to implement it to every vehicle so first responders can get to the emergency faster, quicker, and more efficiently.
with the amount of apps going on out in the market right now, wouldn't it be easier to put the FRD in apps for people's phone? Because like with using Waze, Google Maps, things while they're driving, Spotify, wouldn't it be easier to put it on someone's phone?
Great question. And one that we did look at was Waze and implementing it with them. And so when it comes to apps, first of all, you are using your phone in that case. And so the sensors you would have to buy separately, as well as the dash cam for drowsy driving. And so in that case, buying the entire kit would make more sense. Also, once we get into the app area, then it takes away from the transmission and receiving. And so once we start to push for the Ford and starting to talk with car dealerships is when we want to start implementing them into apps. And until then, when we want to implement them into older vehicles, we want to use the entire unit. But that's definitely something that we're looking at.
Great presentation, first off. I just want to ask the question. So you said that it detects when you close your eyes. Does it detect when you look away or like if you look down on your phone?
Yeah, so whenever you're moving, it's only when you're moving, because if you're at a stoplight and looking elsewhere, looking both ways, it won't. But if you're moving and you're looking away, then it will alert you. It's because your eyes should be on the road at all times, but of course you want to check your rear view mirror. But that should be a split-second look. And so if it's your eyes are closed, you're looking away, you're looking down, you're not looking where you should be looking, that's when it'll alert you. You'll see a flashing light, and then you'll hear a beeping sound that'll alert you of looking away.
I may have missed this. How big is your market? How much are you selling it for? So how many are your customers? How big is it?
Right. So we didn't address how much we're selling for, but the market is, those were numbers that we displayed that were huge. More than 500,000 injuries, 1.7 million collisions around the world. So that would be our market. Right now, we're starting to look into selling the product at a driver safety school or online testing. So those are places, but the numbers we're still looking at to get to Texas, yes.
So again, a great presentation. So question here is that you mentioned that most of these injuries happen because people are distracted, and the primary reason is the text and the alerts on their cell phone. So iPhone came in their newest release that do not disturb mode, but you can easily override that. So I just wanted to pick your brain, is that any thought process which you are aware of, which can actually implement something that you do not get distracted by those cell phone interruptions? Or is that something that you are also thinking of?
So if I understand your question correctly, some way to shut our phones off entirely so that we can't use it? Is that what you're asking?
Cannot shut the phone, but shut down the interruptions. Like as I was giving an example of an iPhone, so as soon as you start driving, it says that you are in a driving mode, so you are not receiving any notifications, but you can override that, right? So I'll give you an example that my son started driving recently, and I do not want to get him distracted at all. So do you know that anybody, or if you are itself is doing something research in that market, that how could you avoid that kind of interruptions?
We are not looking at how to turn off phones or whatnot, because I know that the phone carriers, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they all made a huge movement of distracted driving. I can't say this for sure, but I feel legally you're not allowed to, entirely turn off the cellular data of a cell phone just in case of emergencies, or if you get in a crash and you need to call 911 or something like that. So we're not looking at that. What we're trying to do is, even if you're distracted, our product will get your attention back on the road before something bad happens, so that even if you are distracted, you can avoid a collision, you can avoid drowsy driving, or you can, pull over before the first responder is right on your bumper and you start to panic, so they can get to their destinations quicker.
Have you given any thought to marketing to insurance companies versus end users? Because I've seen the back door work a little better than the front door. Sometimes we tend to not care so much about our safety as we should, but the people with the financial liability, such as the insurance companies, tend to care a lot more. And especially when it comes to commercial carriers, folks that are over-the-road truckers, where they have that more propensity for drowsiness. If you haven't thought about that, it's something I'd consider looking into.
Yes, that's definitely two people that we're definitely going to look into once we start marketing to them. And as I mentioned before, we do want to sell to the new drivers. And so whenever you start taking your driver's safety course or your learner's permit or whatnot, then we'll have it there because I know parents want to keep their kids safe and they want to keep they want to keep their kids safe and alert. And so that's another venue that we want to go through to sell the product. Yes.
What kind of response have you gotten from the first responders? I mean, this is something that is obviously will help them, and so what kind of feedback have you gotten from anybody?
We still want to talk more to first responders, and that's part of the reason why we're here is so we can get the community's feedback of how we can improve the product and what first responders think, whether there's different signals that they send whenever they're moving so that they can help us move people off the road faster. But from other surveys that we have sent out, it's been a positive feedback. It's definitely been something that people want to see implemented within their communities.
Okay, so at what point in time will you have a live demo or a device that you can do a little bit of show and tell so the audience might be able to see it in action?
Today. We have a prototype deal with my sister. She's pointing at it. So we can definitely demo that. We have the collision alert system and the first response transmitter and receiver working currently at the starting phase, and so we can definitely demonstrate that today.
Okay. More questions over here.
Just a note on the thing about the cell phone. I'm one of these people who listens to commercials and pays no attention to what they're talking about. But there is a car commercial out, and I don't know what brand it is, but where the son comes in, tells the parents, hey, my phone won't receive text messages when I take the car. And the son leaves, and two parents look at each other and shake their, yeah, good. So there's some phone company or some car company out there that's doing that. You might want to figure out which one that is. My real question is, what do the first responders have to have, if anything, from you in order to get your system to work with what they have?
So it's just essentially they just need the transmitter that to communicate with the FRD. So essentially they would the way we think about it is you just have to switch it on and it will send a continuous signal, and every receiver that catches that signal, it will alert them saying, hey, there's an emergency responder approaching, you might want to pull over. So it's just a transmitter. We're thinking about whether if it's possible to integrate it with any devices that the emergency responders already have, but right now we're just more looking into that.
Okay, so before you find that out, because it may be different for every fire department, police force, whatever, what kind of cost is that going to be to outfit their vehicles with your transmitter?
Really, we just have to look into that because right now our prototype transmitter, we got it for a couple of bucks, but we believe that we're probably going to need something with a bit more power to implement within emergency responder vehicles. And essentially, we need to make sure that it's regulated and it's allowed to be used within city or state or national limits.
Great presentation, guys. Multiple questions have already been asked about apps and other cars who may be already working on something similar. What do you, if not now, what do you see as a potential competition for your product, especially when there are more than few apps or those kind of easier implementable options coming on board? And then how do you convince users or whoever you are selling to that your system is better than theirs?
So competition, as we've discussed, are apps, Waze, Google Maps, that already alert you of collisions that may have happened or people that are pulled over on the side of the road. Additionally, some of the newer vehicles, Mercedes, Volvo, they're making sensors on the front of their car that alerts them if there's people in front of them. And a lot of us have the rear view camera that alerts us when we're backing up. But the thing is, with the rear view camera or the rear sensors, they're not alerting when someone's coming at us real fast, so we can't brace ourselves. That's just for when we're backing up. And so that's where we want to take over the market and say, hey, you better brace yourself, someone's about to hit you. And so, we're more alert in that sense. So those are the two major players that are in the market right now, and those are who we're competing with. And I believe our competing edge is not only are we helping first responders with moving people out of the way, but we've also included the feature of collision detection with the two sensors, as well as the drowsiness detection. So there's basically a 3-in-1 versus just the app, which will say, there's a car moved over the side, watch out. So I think the plethora of features is what sets us apart.
Thank you. There's one more question. At this point, do you want to divulge the details of your pricing? At this point, would you want to divulge the details of your pricing of the product or kit?
As in how we are going to price it, or?
Correct.
We haven't discussed that yet because still we're in the development phase, right? So we want to figure out what's the best sensors we want to use, what's the best camera to use, what's most plausible, viable product to bring to the consumers, because we can't have something that's extremely good but too expensive for kids or parents to buy, but we also can't have something that's unreliable and can become a liability issue. So we're still looking at what's the perfect match there, that we can bring a great product but also a good price for the product to the people.
Understand. All the very best to you.
So my question is, for a number of years, there's been technology available for emergency responders to alert other vehicles when they're approaching within the radar detectors that people can buy and put in their cars. So if you have one of those, you can occasionally you'll hear a weird sound that's not normal, and it's alerting you that there's an emergency response vehicle approaching, or there's a train or some other thing approaching. Have you looked into that existing technology and how you can interface with that? Maybe some of the existing emergency responders vehicles already have transmitters for those that you could just tie into?
Right. So right now what a lot of people have are the police radar detectors, and I've been asking Mom to get me one of those, but she just won't. But those, they use the RFID, the signals, and that's what they pick up on. But that's, from my knowledge, that's whenever you have the radar gun pointed, and so that's what it picks up and says, hey, there's a police officer ahead of you, watch yourself. But also there are other signals that we know the ambulances, paramedics, and police officers transmit to, let's say, turn the lights green from red so that they can get a clear path through. And those are signals that we're looking into to see if we can piggyback off of to help move people out of the way using the first response detector, but we still need to do research in that field.
Right. I know, at least here in Frisco, they used optical technology to change the lights, so it's not something you can pick up on with the radio frequency. Excuse me. But anyway, so yeah, I would just look into that.
All right, got it.
So let's go, we'll wrap up with one last question. Great presentation, but what can we do for you today? What are you looking for us to help you with, and advice, financially, marketing? Tell us what we can do.
Right, thank you for that question. So there's a series of things that we're looking for that we can definitely use help in. And the first is feedback from first responders to see how, if they can help us implement this into vehicles, whether it be testing it or looking at our design and helping us perfect it, going through, I know there will be regulations, so helping us, guiding us through who we need to talk to. Additionally, the city council, I know, has a big say in what goes on within our community, and so how can we implement this in Frisco and then move it outwards? And so the city council, we would like the support and intervention with, and the Frisco Fire Department, Police Department, and so on. Additionally, marketing is always a big thing, and so any individuals that would like to get on board with this and help us market it and with the research and design, that would be very much appreciated.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your presentation. It was wonderful and good news to hear.
Thank you. Oh, and before we get off, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in this room. We were Frisco Young Entrepreneurs Academy graduates 5-6 years ago, I think. That's a long time. And so that's where we really started when we came to Frisco first, and this community has been a huge help to us as well as my sister. So thank you to Frisco Chamber, Frisco Fire Department for attending, and Frisco ISD for educating me and getting me to A&M and him to UTD. So thank you, everyone.